Hello and welcome to Sarge's Custom Tutorials. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. I have had my eye on this Flash Gordan Ming the Merciless for a while because his suit in this carded version is very close to skin tone. So I'm going to try and make him into kind of a naked body buck first, see how much of this stuff can come off. But then also I think I'm going to turn him into something akin to some of these Barbarian / Gladiator figures back here. Let's take him out of the package and get a closer look. So one thing, here's something that you may not know. You can get the figures out of these carded packages without doing any damage to the card. What I do, and I think I saw this on somebody else's YouTube channel, but take a X-Acto blade or a razor blade or whatever you want to do, cut down here on either side, and then cut along the bottom and make this kind of like a flap that opens up. And you can pull the figure out. So nice way of preserving these packages because they are always usually really nice. So this version of this figure comes with kind of the bare minimum, just a gun and a trigger finger hand to go along with it. So here's your figure. Now this is a body NECA originally used for their con exclusive DC versus Alien and Predator 2-packs. I think it was New York Comic-Con and San Diego Comic-Con. And it has since been used for the Defenders of the Earth and the Flash Gordan lines. And this Ming the Merciless figure in particular I've had my eye on for a while because it's basically all flesh tone body. It's a little bit pale, but it's pretty good flesh tone color in my opinion. And I didn't see them selling very well, so I figured I could wait and get it for pretty cheap and do a custom with it, which I did. I got this guy for only 15 bucks. I think it was regular 35. So pretty happy about that. So the head just pops off pretty easily, and these are glued in, and you can kind of tear them out. Just pegged in right there. Same with this. This was glued on, and I peeled it off, and there was like a painted layer on it, so I'll have to grind or sand those off as well, which is going to be fun trying to preserve the sculpt while getting rid of that. But I think I can do that. Well, as you can see, I was able to get the body mostly apart. Like I said, the shoulders are just pegged in like that, so when you get this thing warm enough you can pull them out. The belt piece here is really glued on in certain spots. You can see it's kind of pulling the plastic off there. It would not come out of that little spot there, so I cut it, and I think I'm gonna have to kind of do the same thing in the back. I'd rather cut it than have it pull away like that or tear. I think I'm gonna get close to it though as I can. Yeah, okay, so now it's on everywhere except just that little thing, so I'll just cut that off. There we go. So that doesn't look very pretty, but once it's on there, if I want to put it back on there, you can't see any of that, so that's no big deal. These are going to be another story. I think I'm going to have to kind of cut those off first with a blade and then use a Dremel to kind of try to match the sculpt a little bit, but that'll be interesting. We'll see how that goes. So I did the first one off camera just to see if I could do it and what would it would take basically, but it turns out pretty good. So now we'll just try to do it on the other side. So I'm just using my hobby knife, my X-Acto blade, and I'm kind of setting it on the skin there, and I'm gonna just kind of rocker it all the way over the arm, making sure I don't get too far into the actual chest. I want to stay kind of up a little bit into this thing and grind it down later, that way I don't cut out more than I want. And I'm just giving it a little bit of a rocker action, so I go real slow. And kind of to this point it doesn't turn so well, so I'm gonna move over to the back, start from here. And any nicks or scratches you get, if you're trying to do this and you kind of cut off a little bit more, you nick the sculpt anywhere else, you can just, if you're doing like I am, I'm making a barbarian, so I'm gonna add nicks and scratches later anyway. So that's okay. And there we go. So you can see how there's a little bit of a flat spot there on the ridge where I cut through. So that's kind of what I'm gonna wanna blend that in using the Dremel, so it hopefully comes out looking just like the other side. Okay, so I'm using metal sharpening bit, but it can be used for grinding plastic. You just have to go real slow and be real careful with it. When I get to the end, it'll be pretty rough. I'll go back over it with some sandpaper. So it looks pretty good. I'm going to clean it up a bit with some sandpaper. The sandpaper I'm using is pretty fine grit. I don't want to add any texture to the surface. I just want to smooth to match the rest of it. So I'm using a little bit rougher one to get some of the scuff stuff off, and then I'm going to go gradually finer to get a smoother surface. Okay, next I'm going to fill these two holes on his chest with some milliput, which is milliput 2-part epoxy. Take 2 equal amounts of each tube and mix them together until you get a really good uniform color. And you know you're ready to go. And then I'm going to put a little bit into each of these holes. Try to fill it. You don't need much. I'm making it kind of a thin string so it'll actually get down in there. And then scrape any leftovers off the top. And it says that it's hard as a rock in 3 to 4 hours, but because I'm burying some of it, I'm going to give it actually until tomorrow before I sand on it. Getting my finger wet will also help kind of smooth it out, and it'll blend the edges into the sculpt a little bit better. I'll have to repaint all the chest because I'm doing this, but that's okay. And we'll go back over this again once it's dried with sandpaper to make sure it's real smooth. But doing the water definitely helps the outcome. So it'll look like that for now. We'll let that dry. and come back to that later. I'm going to use the boots from a Flash Gordan figure from this same line, so I can just swap these boots out and then I spruce them up. I have some faux leather here that you get. At my local fabric store, it comes in sheets. I can chop this one up obviously, but it comes in sheets like this. Just kind of pleathery stuff that works really well for little craft things. So what I'm going to do with this is just add a circle around the top to give it kind of like that pirate boot look. Kind of a classic comic book Conan boot. So what I'll probably do is just glue these around here. I don't know if I should glue them to the leg or if I should glue them to the boot. So either way, you'll still have your boot swivel. If I glue them to the leg, they'll get up higher. If this isn't really tight, this thing may end up like drooping like this a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is actually move it up. And just using regular Gorilla Glue. Now that I got that tighter, it's not gonna fall. And it can just stay there, because it turns with the calf right now. It turns with the boot. Well, we'll just go with that for now, and then if I have to glue it later, I can glue it later. And there we have our boot tops. Looks pretty good. Gives it a more classic feel. So on the back of my piece of pleather, I have drawn what will be the loincloth. Basically, I just cut out a couple shapes and sized them over the piece as a template, and then laid them back out on here to cut it so it'll be one piece, and then I can just glue the one side on either side so it'll be a piece that will just slip over top of the hips. Make the sides a little bit big just in case I don't have enough room around his hips. Right now I'm just going to do the basic shape, just make sure it fits, and then I can adjust it later. Looks pretty good. Alright, I've made the basic shape here, glued the sides together, and then I glued in some little side pieces too, just because it makes it look a little bit more interesting. Something like that. And then I'll paint this to look more like that leather. Will end up looking pretty cool when it's all done. I did a little bit of painting off camera, painted up this thing. I'll probably go back over it with a dry brush of a lighter brown, maybe even a black wash to make it even darker, and then some dry brush over top just to get an idea of kind of what that would look like. Same for the forearms. This is just the glove tops, but make pretty good bracers just as is. Maybe I'll add a little bit of like a tie detail or something like that, but pretty good as is, just basic. And then this milliput has finally dried, so we can sand that. Again, I'm using a pretty high grit because I don't want to scratch up the surface too much. I just want to smooth out where those things are so that you can't really tell that they're there. Okay, so now I've got it pretty much level with the surface. Now with a higher grit, I'm going to start to do more like circles or just random directions against the grain to try to get rid of some of the lines I just created by using the rougher sandpaper. Okay, we're looking pretty good now. I can't feel where the milliput is. Now I'm going to go over the kind of the whole thing with a magic eraser to get rid of any discoloration that I got from the sandpaper. When you're using a magic eraser, make sure it's wet and go gently because it will take off the paint underneath. If you're trying to save it, I'm going to kind of go over everything, so it's not a huge deal for me. Okay, I mixed my own color using flesh tone, white, and just a touch of yellow to try to match the skin tone that's already on here, because I'd like to match as close as possible. Then I can come back later and do kind of a brown red wash to give it a little darker tone. I want to try to match it first with what's on there. And so I'm going to kind of just go over the whole area. Something like that. And if there's a little bit of variation, that's fine. It's skin. Skin's not perfectly colored. And we're going to go back over it again with a wash after, so that should help with that too. Before I painted it, I just wanted to get the body all together to see kind of what it's going to look like, and I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty excited. These are hands from one of the other Defenders of the Universe figures, so they fit in there perfectly. They're not the right color, but we'll fix that. And this is the best fitting head I have right now, so we're going to go with that. Pretty awesome looking Barbarian. I like that a whole lot. Alright, I have mixed my own kind of tan red-brown color, and you water it down so it's nice and runny. Mix it with some water so it's nice and runny. You don't really want it too bubbly. A little bubbly is fine, especially if you want most of it to come off, but you want it pretty runny. Then I'm just going to paint it on and wipe it off with a paper towel. While you're doing this, if you feel like you went a little too heavy, magic eraser is great. Just go back over what you did. It takes it right off. Super easy. Okay, we've got all the pieces painted now. It's pretty good, even skin tone. With still some of the darker definition underneath. Okay, now I'm just going to warm up the body and get all the pieces back together. Okay. Body's all warmed up. Looking pretty good so far. So now for the skirt, I think I want to put up here first. It's not going to work. I want to kind of pull it down as far as I can get it because I don't really want it to be pinched in between the two, upper body and lower body. Alright, now for gauntlets, actually, I'm going to use, so I have these from some of the Zezre Studios characters, just hanging around, so those are going to be my gauntlets. They look pretty good. And there you go. Very cool bare body to make a custom on. I like that a lot. For some comparison shots, here he is with some Zezre Studios combatants. He fits right in with them. Now here he is with the executive replicas Red Sonja and a custom Masters of the Universe Masterverse Conan. Next, here he is with a customized AEW Stu Grayson figure, which is where the head comes from, obviously. And with a Savage Crucible Slate Lemurian. And here he is with some Mythic Legions figures. Scale-wise, he fits in just fine, but the proportions are a little bit off as the Mythic Legions heads usually run a little bit big. Here he is with some other NECA offerings, with Elkhorn from the D&D line and Hudson from the Gargoyles line. And here he is with two Marvel Legends figures. This is a custom Wonder Woman from the Power Princess and a custom Conan from the retrocarded Hercules. I will say, however, these two Marvel Legends figures are taller than the average male and female Marvel Legends. So here he is in all of his glory. I am super excited to have this guy on my shelf finally. Like I said, I've been eyeballing this figure for a very long time, hoping to make this exact custom someday. This worked out better than I expected, so I'm pretty excited to have this guy. Not sure if he's gonna be a generic Barbarian on my shelf or he'll wind up as yet another Conan custom for the Hyborian collection. I don't know, he looks amazing either way. Any of these heads that I've tried on him, they all look great, so not sure what I'm going to do with them just yet, but super excited about this custom. Well, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below, let me know how I can make these videos more informative or entertaining in the future. Let me know any ideas for customs you'd like to see me work on. I just got a truckload of Mythic Legions. That's probably what's coming next, as well as the long-awaited review of my Masterverse Conan custom. I've had several people ask for that, so it might have been the same person asking several times, but that'll probably be, if not the next video, the one after. So anyway, thanks for stopping by for Sarge's Custom Tutorials.